you have. When it comes to control, Freedom is unrivaled. Continuous wins from Brightwing with the Emerald Wind picked up, with the Wind Tunnel of Falstad, the Cocoon, the Void Prison. I mean, legitimately only Greymane does not have some of the best boss control we have in Heroes. And so I wonder if some more pressure towards these tributes should be applied by Octalysis, because Freedom, late game bosses, even though they don't have the race, they do have the control.
Prismat got rooted, and Nasmus happily used some damage to come in there, and there was some follow-up from Yoda to get some splash damage. The boss in the bottom has a couple of minion waves with it. This made it all the way through the keep wall. Octalysis, they'll start the channel. Justin comes in. Feigns the blink. He's got to be careful. He's got some members rotating down.
Falstad made his way back.
It looks like, based on the minimap, that took down the keep wall on the other side as well.
It did. Got a lot of free damage onto the keep, too. But that top giant that nobody took care of is getting free damage onto the keep in favor of Freedom.
Yeah, that's... And it's in that weird position where it's just on the corner.
It's going to take at least half of that health. This is a huge win. And the Void being able to stall this out, the next minion wave just spawned. I'm not going to lie, J-How, that boss is the real MVP, or excuse me, this giant is the real MVP of this game.
We're looking at next boss now will more than likely take keep, and now it threatens game, which as Octalysis, their next boss doesn't threaten core as hard. That's the difference that they just gave up there. So Octalysis will find themselves potentially in a disadvantageous position if we see the same race around those bosses minutes away. The 2.5 minutes from now, so right around the 14-minute mark will be the key number that you will watch out for if you're watching at home. Around that minute mark is when the bosses will spawn. And that's when you can start to see rotations coming out shortly before that for some of these teams if they're making a play.
Octalysis has to all in here. 16 talent tier will be here during the next tribute, and that's why you see them going in. The Dragon Zero plus the Containment Disc. Isolation going to land on top of the Zeratul along with the Drag, but Nasmus keeps himself alive. Prismat trying to kite away, but Collusion comes in with the legendary Emerald Wind, but it comes at the cost there of Nasmus as the Drag lands on top of Yoda. Now Team Freedom is on retreat here.
Prismat just barely survived in that fight. Had he had 16 Dreadnought with the piercing scatter arrow, he might have been able to rip one. There's the mighty gust used to buy time, but the blink back in. Justin's got to be careful. The hammering's going to hit. The heals are enough to keep him alive. Goku coming in, lands the drag on a Brightwing. They're trying to get the follow-up kill. The ice block is going to be used. Collusion surviving for now. Can he stay longer? Goku has one more drag, and he will go ahead and confirm that kill. Octalysis is fighting back.
Octalysis hold their own there at the very end of that, what seems like a near miracle with how well that fight opened up with Team Freedom, especially post Emerald Wind there from Collusion, but now it sets it to a cursed point for both teams, dead even when it comes to the experience. 16 into 16. The only advantages gained are structurally in favor of Team Freedom by all the things we talked about before, as you see Nasmus post 16 a lot more threatening. And J-How, if this stall out happens anywhere near the first tribute, remember what we were talking about with the bosses, the problem, the lethal, everything the like that comes online. This may be a stall boss situation, so much so that
I think Octalysis is just going to play the long game. They have Tahaka pushing out bottom. They'll use the siege camp. That does well when you don't have those minions. So they don't necessarily have, nice impale. That bought Zugrug maybe his life there.
Brightwing doesn't have the best of clear to deal with bottom. No impale available, I don't think, for this interrupt. Give over curse.
Team Freedom was the one that conceded. Octalysis put themselves in a position that if they lost one member, it's not as condemning because they had that. Nasmus at the top of your screen has that wormhole, but will move down. Falstad dealing with the Siege Giants at the bottom. Octalysis will start their rotation down. They already softened up the keep in the bottom. Buds.
Needs to be careful there with Nasmus finding him isolated.
They would love to get some damage. The bosses just spawned. The one on the bottom just spawned right on time. Prepping this for the next boss is what they're looking for. It's the long play. Justin comes in. The Lunar Flare just missing. Octalysis starting to take down this keep. They should confirm that momentarily. Team Freedom, they've got a Falstad in the top lane trying to trade out.
We might have a boss race situation at hand here, and Freedom is losing it by a mile between the Tron to Hanzo. It comes down to them stealing the boss, if anything, as I was talking about before, as Falstad still ridding of the top minions, questioning if he has the opportunity to pick off that keep.
They know it. They know they have to come down. Zeratul has already sniffed it over. Buds has identified it. The fly in. Justin, he's going to go. Boom! You got a circle. I got a circle. There's the containment disc. Overlap with the isolation, but now they're going to try and get the kill. Get the second kill. Nazmus comes in for some poke damage, but now it's a 5 versus 3. Octalysis already took down that keep bottom lane, Dread.
But they have still two major tools, plus Void Prison. They have the tools still possible. Nazmus has to stay alive and teleport perfectly. There is the Emerald Wind opportunity. Collusion gets the boss here, but does it save the game as Team Freedom lose themselves to Nazmus. The boss comes through, go for the throat. Yoda finds his kill onto Goku there, goes for the throat once more onto Draded. Not able to pick up the kill.
That's it.
Of Team Freedom go down. 11 seconds till the Falstad is up with the Cocoon. They have Gust. They will have Cocoon.
They can isolate one target, Gust others as well. It doesn't necessarily net a kill. It could, but it might be enough to save the game. Falstad back up. There's only one catapult. They'll get the Siege Giants as well. That boss
I don't think they can.
Every other minion wave. Octalysis, if they don't get it this way, they continue to run into the threat. They're going for the core here. 15 seconds left before Zeratul. They have nothing to worry about in terms of the DP. They're sieging up right now.
They just don't have any siege damage when it comes to their composition. Lutano clearing the Giants on the back end. That containment disc, they have to one-shot this. Lunar Flare? Look at the Cocoon!
Oh, but the scatter arrow value! They're going to bust out the Cocoon. We have Greymane 10 seconds away. We have also 5 seconds from that Emerald Wind. That will be available. Brightwing comes back. There's the stun. There's the follow. Octalysis has managed to do this. They're sieging up on the core. It's only Zeratul left. Here comes Greymane. Here comes Brightwing. Octalysis trying to get back in. 75% and falling. Siege Giants are here as well as the catapults. 50%. Octalysis trying to end here as the Emerald Wind will buy some space, Dreadnought.
Nazmus goes in for another cleave there, but the lash coming through once again there from Bud on that white man. That is going to be it here, and Octalysis have what it takes to take the victory here on Cursed Hollow and tie up the series 1-1.
Oh my goodness, we have ourselves a series. Now that's...
Let's go.
Octalysis, the way that they ended that game, Dreadnought. That's one way. Here's one down. Here's another. Here's another. I mean, DJ Khaled's up in here. Another one. Every single step of the way. The fact that they pull those off, that containment disc, I think might have been at max range.
Yeah.
Max range. And they got that, the blow up. The Cocoon on one side, it's just two punchers throwing back and forth.
I completely agree, but I want to bring it back to something we talked about at the beginning of the series. When we talked about the responsibilities gained of Lutano as time's gone on, I can't help but feel like there's about a 0% chance you ever look at that flight and you could say that was an okay type of situation. 4 people were there waiting for you. I got it at first because they had the scout on the one. It's like, can we get the Gust isolation? But it was a very quick... okay, is this Falstad really going to fly here? And the initiation, and that's not so much that Lutano's a player who does that very often, but it is very much the, how does this affect them? Because I said that I think that he is at a point where he's gaining enough responsibility, he's young enough that, you know, you kind of poke the beast a little bit too hard. Does all of Freedom fall behind it? And I think plays like that and moments like that might be enough, because that was absolutely the breaking point of that game, was that flight from Lutano.
When it's not an observer thing, that is, if you have a Falstad on the enemy team, there is a circle there, you know, and you can time that, and Octalysis timed that so well.
Yeah.
They also timed a victory well to get back into the series. It's 1-1. We're going to a commercial break. We're just getting started. Don't go anywhere.
Keep up with your favorite players and teams on the official HGC website for desktop and mobile. Stats, archived matches, and everything you need to stay up to date with the global Heroes of the Storm Esports League. Watch live on game days and upgrade your Heroes of the Storm knowledge. 2018 promises to be the best year yet. Look for expanded statistics, enhanced viewing experiences, and more on your home for the HGC.
We're all tied up 1-1. Octalysis versus Team Freedom. The winner gets the #3 seed in the playoffs next week. The other one goes to #4 right now. It's anybody's game, Dreadnought,
really
after
is.
what we saw last game. Its first game was an anomaly, an awkward draft that did not work out well for Octalysis, but the second one, they're still making it. Who cares what a tank is anymore, Justine says.
They're making it work, but I will say that I look at this and I go, I'm not as convinced on Octalysis here. We've gotten 2 drafts that deviate from the norm. Game #1 didn't look too hot, and then game #2, though they did get the victory, I think it's unfair to say that was a clean victory by any means, especially considering some of the trade-offs especially at the end there with the decision-making out of Lutano. So it's what does that look like as time goes on? Number one, does Freedom hold the mental strength? And number two, is this drafting actually functioning there for Octalysis here? Because I don't know at this point.
Octalysis is taking Team Freedom to their favorite battleground.
All right.
Here on Infernal Shrines. So maybe they've got a plan, a strategy. The Anubarak Greymane, we saw it work very well when they turned things around versus LFM. Since then, it was thwarted by Endemic. That time, we anticipated maybe some more early game aggression with the rotations. Did not get that, but a few minor misplays late game, as Medivh will be the first ban here by Team Freedom.
See what we're going to get here in response from Octalysis. The standard would be Hammer. But in case for some reason they are feeling a little bit different here, knowing that they are in a different draft slot, typically than Freedom is normally used to on this battleground.
So Diablo wasn't banned last game. Any chance he makes it through here?
I don't think so. Not on Shrines. But I normally would have said that about Cursed, and he made it. I feel like the kill potential around the Shrines is a little bit too good here on Infernal Shrines, along with his independent Shrine controls. We get the Maiev ban.
Well, he's here. See if Zugrug snaps lock that in.
Nope.
Instead, we get Whitemane, the epic music.
It's crazy to me to think that Diablo can be near first pick, first ban for almost every other team, but now it gets into a point where he might be negligible within some of the drafts, even on his best battlegrounds.
Prismat can play a mean Tychus, and we saw what Tychus did to an Arthas. He can do similar things to a Diablo if worse comes to worse, but two very strong heroes, Yrel and Tyrande.
Taking a bit of a page out of the last series there with the 1-2 Yrel Tyrande, something that we got twice already in the 1-2 at the second pick slot. See what the response is here from Freedom. With the Whitemane pickup, they have the better chance to move into double support if they would like. There is the Diablo, and we get it as a Malthael.
Okay, if you were to just take a shot in the dark at what hero Justin would play this game?
Does he have the opportunity to pick Zul? Because anytime I see Tyrande, I'm going to say it's Zul first. But if we ban the Zul, or it's not an option to go with the Zul, what's he going to play?
The one thing on the Curse Strikes that works so well on Shrines is its enemies hit is where you get that. On Shrines, there's always going to be a multitude of enemies to hit to get value out of that, and then the healing off of the heroes in the mix. It can always help you survive in those situations. Whitemane has a cleanse, much longer cooldown than a Root. Malthael post 13 has a self-cleanse. The Tychus.
That's interesting.
And help by Freedom.
Really concerned about their Diablo pickup here with both the Malthael selection, not that surprising, but a denial of the last right kill potential, and then the bigger they are denial there too. It does maybe incentivize the Arthas for Octalysis a little bit better, and pairing that with the Yrel Tyrande kill potential early game is very good, because that counter can work both ways, but Malthael has the threat there onto the front line for the most part, so take away the health pool and just pick up the Zul.
The other thing is, Tychus does percentage-based damage, but as we've seen the use from Justin, 12% I believe is the number with your own armor at level 1. Anybody that's near is going to take a large percentage of damage of your health. That works very well against Diablo. We already have the single target focus with the Root, the Mark, Tracer
with a Phoenix. My goodness, J-How, how things have changed. I'm so taken back here by the draft choices here of Freedom.
I would not be surprised if something like a Zeratul or a Valeera shows up here to maybe deal with that. Genji has been let through, but Draded is normally on one of the other supports.
I think the Valeera makes a bit more sense than the Zeratul, though Zeratul is usually
we need
the one
an executioner here.
Greymane.
Yeah, I forget the way that they draft. We still need somebody that can actually kill people and follow up the damage there.
Greymane will be able to do that a little bit, but I don't know. It's tough when looking at the drafts of Octalysis because they deviate so much. They do have the Zul and the Tyrande to make up for some of the wave clear problems, and they are dominating in the wave clear, which I think is a very, very important element here for Octalysis. The fact that they are in control of the wave clear for the most part. I I think, need that to feel very comfortable. But the Tracer, I'm still really taken back. It's hard to hit the Zool combo realistically onto the Tracer, but is that really going to make up for her weak health pool in the white main Zeal focus that is going to be necessary on top of her to make her high impact?
The Tychus ban makes more sense. Tychus can, with the bigger they are, rip through some high health pools. Follow-up has good shrine control, but also has Neo Seal coating to deal with a pulse bomb that comes in.
Yeah.
Greymane, by way of having a high health pool as a ranged assassin, and when he moves into Worgen form, gets 10 armor. So that does give him ways to deal with that. We've seen at level 7 in the past, the extra auto attack range in human form to trade out with a Tracer. So the Greymane makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. But overall, Diablo on Infernal Shrines we know is strong. Zool will be the answer here for Justin.
Spell Armor, the choice there for Tyrande at level 1, not wanting to go with the Cleanse, something that they can use to maybe mitigate some of that Tracer damage output, at least pre-10. Everybody else sticking to the norm. It's going to be Feast or Fear there for Diablo.
I wonder how aggressive we'll see Octalysis be in the earlier part of the game with the Greymane, because you can get the root. You can get the bonus % damage.
Bit of miscommunication there.
But Greymane, when he hops into Worgen form, you throw a cocktail, you hop in, you press E, and then you start to go to town. Will they be willing to commit? Is the damage coming out from Yoda significant here?
Shadow Charge goes through. Nasmus in a bad spot for a moment, able to kite away and heal up out of that one. Huge advantage here to the first lane situation for Octalysis. Lutano able to get one dismount there onto Buds with the rotation down. And so let's see how much better I feel like this is going to look now, again, with that wave clear advantage. Tracer trying to hold her own to pull off. So you see Collusion end up dropping one Q over, get the Zeal passive, and maybe throw out a little bit of damage.
The wave clear of this rotation is heavy. They're already splitting Greymane off to start the camp on the left. See if that warrants maybe an early invade, or maybe just taking that neutral camp at the bottom, while Team Freedom will be left to deal with a lot of this. So you do get the camp control. You also get some minor experience off that. Justin just missing out on being hit in the wall there for Zugro.
I wonder if there's any justification for deviation in the Diablo build just to have better threat onto a front line. It's interesting because, like, when you think of like things like the Devastating Charge, the percentile damage onto higher health pools makes more sense, but at the same time, it's like, is there another option for that kill potential here? As we see the Bone Prison used, Lunar Flare a little bit late there. That will be changing once we see level 4. The main reason that was a problem is just purely on the triple blink there from Tracer.
It always brings up an interesting decision. If you are the Tracer, you either have to use blink charges to get out of range of potential follow-up, or your recall. And your recall has been nerfed so many times that that should be a last resort. If needed, it will be there, but that just opens up an opportunity seconds later, depending on how aggressive you want to be. So it's always a tricky thing as Tracer players of how much are you willing to commit, how much can you stay within there, and assessing the situation in a very rapid time, because if you get caught anywhere within range, you're a dead Tracer. So decision making from Lutano, he'll have to have a very good eye on the landscape around him to make some very difficult decisions at times.
Yeah, I very much agree. The Tracer in this type of composition has a tough time. Back in the day, Tracer was maybe the answer to Zool, but now I would say Zool is the answer to Tracer due to that recall nerf. When I say that, I mean recall nerfs, sorry. But quite a bit there. Both teams willing to pick up their Shamans at near identical timing, but Freedom, a bit of an upper hand with their Impalers pressuring in this downtime. If we have our very first Shrine, Lutano still with Nasmus, going to maybe wait on the side. He does have a Pulse Bomb available if anybody makes their way up towards top. And it looks like they're actually not even going to show any interest.
Yeah, we've seen similar situations like this before, but the sieging capabilities of Team Freedom, a Malthael and Tracer, does not exactly scream to me early sieging in any form or fashion. So right now, they're just going to warrant a response from Octalysis, while Greymane will work that way down. Phoenix has showed bottom, Malthael showed mid, so now Octalysis can spread their resources between the mid and bottom and not give up too much XP here, Dred.
Octalysis, though, have a pretty effective response so far as we see the Pulse Bomb actually being used there. Lunar Flare going to land as the knockback coming out. onto Goku. Zugrug is just fine, though, as the Shaman just now getting dealt with there. Punisher picked up here for Octalysis and bottom. And overall, Octalysis, though Freedom was the one backing out of the objective, that's a compositional struggle, which is why they got that adjustment in the early game, not willing to deal with this. But Octalysis had a great response, so right now they're winning on all fronts, though it's not major. They very much are kind of eking ahead.
There's a lockdown. Nice cleanse used there by Collusion. Zugrug will get that over. If Octalysis had minions here, they might be able to commit to this fort, but taking down that Punisher rapidly. Infernal Shrines Dreadnought, there's always people that question some of the decision-making. Team Freedom, they're one that they play heavily around rotations and around this map. They're basically taking a 50-50 shot that the next shrine will be top or mid. And if it is top, they've already prepped that next one. They play for the long game, and that's something they do differently than other teams. When they concede, we see it done differently, right? We see teams that will hard push a lane and then set up the future pushes, the chip damage that we see from Team Freedom. So it's never really, oh, we gave up too much. They are down one tower cumulatively, and that's it.
It's always interesting, Team Freedom's approach here to Infernal Shrines. Because you are right. It seems so focused on the future that you almost wonder, depending on the time frame, did they forget about now almost, right? And sometimes it becomes this beautiful orchestra where it kind of all comes together and accumulates to this beautiful, lethal opportunity from them. But other times, maybe question whether or not they gain as much. But right now, they're gaining enough here in the earlier stages, as that first Punisher did not obtain enough for Octalysis. We know the next shrine going to be top. We'll see what Freedom decides to do with this information, as they do end up losing that bottom forward.
That's the amount of damage that really jumps up. And 250 versus 1250, I'll take my odds on the 1250, but this does set up. If Team Freedom gets to level 10, they get the next Punisher. That's a guaranteed fort. So they can find their advantages in multiple ways. We've seen this before. The Starfall with the Skeletal Mages. See if we get the Poison Nova, though, here, as that's still being decided upon for Justine.
It's going to be Skeletal Mages. Double ranged initiation here for the two that wear a lot of free damage. Tracer, actually, I don't know if you play a lot of Tracer. Have you ever dealt with a Skeletal Mages as a Tracer?
You know, you're desperately blinking out. The good news is that you're constantly auto-attacking as you're pathing through, getting that cooldown reduction with your level 7. It is still, it's not fun. Your low health pool, you will feel it more than on any other hero or most other heroes. The thing that I am really excited to see is the Executioner style post-16 for a Greymane with that style of composition. Here we go, trying to get in range for the salvo. That's going to come out with the slow, except that doesn't end up landing. The sleep is going to land there. Lutano taking so much damage from the Starfall. Octalysis holds Dread with their double support.
And the entire time, Zool has been just whittling away at bottom lane, getting that clear. Also starting up the Impalers here of Team Freedom. Got a solo deny on that. And J-How, just before this next shrine fight starts, that exactly is what I was talking about. When Team Octalysis has wave clear advantage, they look a lot better and gain way more on the battleground than if they don't.
Look, Malthael is going to show himself on the bottom of the map, not mid. It's not like they're at a major disadvantage when it comes to XP. Zool will make his rotation up. Draded and team with the double support will continue to zone out. Lutano going over, but here comes Justin with the Skeletal Mages.
Collusion trying to get the retreat. Sacred Ground down, but Goku with a huge hammer knockback. Collusion healing himself up, actually survives there. Now Zugrug getting body blocked to death by Justin and Friend. 75% healing reduction coming through, but Collusion holds on. Now Lutano here with the rest of the squad. Nasmus eats the Bone Prison. 7 skeletal defenders in favor of Octalysis here, and a reset for Freedom before the reinitiation.
Dread, I got one word for you. White Mane. Collusion did everything he possibly could and managed to keep both himself alive first and Diablo alive second. As we see an early skeletal advantage. Look at Phoenix's positioning, Dreadnought. Coming in for the flank again. Lightning Breath is available if they want to try that combo.
They got the salvo. Sacred Ground already popped there as the focus goes on to Justin. He eats the Pulse Bomb. A lot of damage coming through. Lightning Breath is there along with the salvo. Stay a while and listen. Hitting 4 members, forcing Yoda to teleport away. Zugrug is going to be the first to drop as Goku goes ahead and leaps forward. Nazma is trying to help recover on those defenders, maybe buy a little bit of time. There's the salvo coming through again. Another attempt at an interrupt there. as Nazma is trying to get the last rights. Prismat is not going to go down, but Justin so weak, so low. Prismat is falling as well.
Oh my
goodness. The double support of Octalysis holds on, and they have 35 skeletal defenders.
Yeah, they're still in the lead. Goku trying to survive, and here we end up seeing Tyrande fall. Diablo's back. He says no souls, no problem. That's a double kill here for Team Freedom, and Octalysis finds himself 2 skeletal defenders away. They're going to find themselves a lot further away as Lutano comes in, confirms the kill onto Prismat.
And Freedom is in a position that they are actually zoning off hard enough to secure the rest of this objective. That was amazing here from Team Freedom. And now we are at a position where they are going to be able to siege away here at the top fort. That is going to go down for free. The question is, how much do they get past this? How much free damage maybe onto the sidewall, especially with Malthael not available?
Well, we highlighted it before, is that Team Freedom will play for the long game. They have that down. This Punisher still at 100% health will now make its way in. 1 keep tower is a nice chunk of XP at this stage of the game. Goku, he's on some sacred ground, getting himself 40 armor in the middle of that.
Sidewall is all that is going to be achieved here for the siege up top for Freedom. Zul receiving a bit of pressure as we see the rotation down from all of Team Freedom.
Oh my goodness! I'm like, Prismat, you're going into a Diablo behind that. He says, I do not care. I'm hitting down the beast met. I'm getting the reset on my go for the throat. They're continuing to track down Goku. There's this cleanse. Use Goku will get another cooldown and another cooldown here in a moment. Zugrat puts him in a position to try and get that Beast on Fear healing. And that's enough to take down Diablo. That is a gutsy call by Prismat.
It is. And to have that kind of keen of an eye to identify that type of situation and help recover within this game, it is a massive win there. That one chase set this back to almost dead even, if not even even. Octalysis is now technically a lead, structurally speaking.
Collusion.
And they're not done. Goku is just in absolute terror. Drops the B steps. And rightly so.
He's like, I'm going one way, gotcha, go on the other. By the way, On the Prowl was picked up for that movement speed. I'm like, man, he's moving fast.
Yeah.
And he picked up the On the Prowl. Hasn't been the choice that we've seen traditionally for Greymanes at 13, but that helped him track down that Tracer. And now, structure's starting to fall. A lead amassing here for Octalysis as they put the heat on to Team Freedom.
They are going to be winning the race to 16, I believe, strong enough as that bottom shrine warning coming up over the next few. When that does happen, it puts them in a position to win the first half of the objective. The biggest thing, if you're Octalysis, is somebody, specifically Zul, probably needs to make his way to top as soon as possible to make sure to get rid of that Shaman camp and better enable yours to be a problem in the downtime. If you pick up the Shaman with the 16 window, you need to either split push, or excuse me, push with it or split push against it. And considering it's a 5-man rotation, to me this says Octalysis wants the top fort, but it comes at the cost of their bottom fort and their 16 advantage. Can't help but feel like that's not necessarily a worth trade, so we'll see what they do.
Team Freedom will try and get some experience back, knowing that Octalysis had to deal with the lane in the top. Also anticipating that they would be on the Shaman camp, which indeed they are, and that ping will confirm that. So 2 members have shown. 1 tower goes down, 16 near. Team Freedom will be on an even talent tier fight. The best part about this Dreadnought is no matter how you shake it up, at the end of this series, one team is ranked 3, one team is ranked 4 in the playoffs, and they could very easily see each other again next weekend.
That is one of the silver linings. And you're like, wait a minute, this is likely to be a rematch no matter what ends up going down here. As long as they hold their dominance against teams like LFM and Endemic competing here in North America through our playoffs. We got 12 seconds though. Freedom is now just picking up the 16. They got rid of the Shaman on top.
It's time to fight. Major 16 talent tier spike with the Executioner and the armor reduction on the Bone Prison. Goku already making his presence felt. And Zugrug charges him right out of that, so that will put that on cooldown. But now they've got the target focus on to Zugrug, and they blast him. The Ancient Blessings and everything go in. There's going to be the knockback. Nazmus trying to survive. The cleanse or the self-cleanse goes in. Prismat trying to get the takedown. The White Mane healing is going to be there. Prismat will track that down. The White Mane root in return, and Prismat, he says, I am not done yet, Dreadnought.
Prismat is an absolute monster on this Greymane. This guy is just not letting up. Now Lutano trying to survive, get in range of the flash, might end up going down, but the lightning breath, the heals coming out from Drayden with that lunar flare.
Oh, was that on a tracer? Is that even possible? Drayden, that is a raw lunar flare on a tracer, Dreadnought. Never in my wildest dreams.
Same.
I'm thinking, well, Prismat bit off more than he can chew, and then,
Wait a minute here. I know some of these words.
Ancient Blessings used, trying to burst down this keep before the Punisher ever gets here. Octalysis, we've seen them in a similar position. The difference with this one, Dreadnought, their best race with the Greymane, not here.
Inevitable end used to bait out that first leap there of this Arcane Punisher, but now it is just an easy clear for Freedom as Octalysis not wanting to risk positioning past the line of keeps. Back out, look for the Impalers themselves over mid, winning the race to 20 significantly, and now we have to start asking our question is where in the future does Freedom find that realistic, same talent-tiered fight? They have Impalers both on mid and bottom as an option, but when it comes to the Shamans, 20 on theirs, a minute and 20 when looking at Octalysis' to spawn. So overall, either their camp or a deep invade pre-mid Impaler would have to happen. And if that's the case, it's a little bit too late now here for Freedom.
Well, they're making their moves in here. They've got vision. That's also the dismount onto Diablo. Justin, got to be careful. Goku will get the knockback. They didn't confirm that. Here comes the salvo.
Lightning breath.
But the lightning breath, is it enough to help confirm the damage? Justin stays alive. The counter kill onto Diablo. Goku surviving for now with 40 armor in there. Prismat goes in again, confirms a kill. Goku staying alive with all of that armor. Yoda's going to go down in a moment. That's 4 members down on the side of Team Freedom. And Lutano, Goku comes over trying to track down another. Dreadnought, this might be early enough. You have a Greymane.
Yeah, Team Freedom is just allowing Octalysis to go into that bottom lane. J-How, there's already a catapult building right there. They've got another wave with another catapult behind. 20 seconds until Diablo's going to spawn. And that Diablo is essentially a glass cannon to a vulnerability bone prison post 16 and a lunar flare combo with the Hunter's Mark. Lutano has to keep those catapults off the core, but Octalysis wastes no time. They're ready to end this.
They've got the armor, they've got the healing from Ancient Blessings, the shield's already down. Octalysis looking to go up 2-1 in this series, and it looks like they've done just that behind a sensational performance here by Prismat and team on Team Freedom's best map. But Octalysis comes out. This is after game 1. If we don't look at game 1, Octalysis, game 2, good. Game 3, better. And Prismat's performance in the guts, the gall that he has to go in and make those plays. Wow.
Yes. Willing to put the team on the back in a situation where I feel like he's a player that maybe doesn't necessarily, when it comes to immediate play itself, get his name yelled out at the forefront of Octalysis and the plays that they are able to make, but when it comes to the stats and the numbers behind it, not quite the same case. Prismat has always been a very big standout player here in the North American scene. I'm very impressed with what we got out of him specifically. I feel like he just took that whole game onto the back of his shoulders there after that top siege. And Lutano, the situation that he was in, I very much feel like that is understandable, but I want to bring it back to what we saw happen with the Falstad. We talk about that game, like with the raw lunar flare hitting, things like that. I don't think this is, again, the standard Lutano play. I can't help but feel like I think it's getting into his head.
Falstad, Tracer, both low health pools, both susceptible. The Falstad plays on him. There's no mistaking that. It's one of those things that we all know. You're targeted when you come in. The circle's there. Maybe fly slightly around the corner. He had vision. He just didn't have full vision. And you know that there's somewhere in your mind, like as you're landing, you're like, oh. It happens to all of us. It's split-second decisions that are tough. It's one of those things that a pro player, you hope that never happens, but when it does happen, it's very evident. Lutano's still one of the best we got, but Prismat, Dreadnought, that level 13 talent, there's the extra range on your Worgen form and your disengage. Yeah. There's the other one where it's more around the abilities, but very rarely do we see the movement speed one. And I'm like, man, he's tracking him down. Yeah. I don't think I've seen that talent picked up in a while. We don't see a lot of Greymane, and there is some variety towards that level 13 talent here. But when he made that play, knowing a Diablo just exited, just right on the other side of that, that is...
It was ridiculous. It was really well done.
There are very few people that I think would even attempt that.
Yeah.
And they're probably a little crazy, but sometimes crazy works. And
yeah.
that's wwild.
Like that moment where you go, no player has the confidence to do this other than Rich, and somehow it works because nobody else would have been willing to do it. But Rich Prismat had that moment for a half second there within that game. And it's the reason that Octalysis is now up 2-1 in the series, now 1 game away from securing that position within the playoffs itself to be the 3rd seed there under Tempo Storm.